Hi, and welcome to episode 4 of the More Than Just a Website podcast. I'm Ed, and this is Paul, and we're from ReadySite. Today, we're tackling a question we probably get asked more than any other. How much should a website actually cost? It's a fair question and an honest one because the range out there is massive. Like you can either spend 200 bucks or 20,000 and end up with wildly different results for reasons that aren't always obvious. So today we're going to break down what actually drives website pricing, bust a couple of myths along the way, and hopefully leave you with a clear idea of what you should be paying for what you need. And as always, this is just two mates having a chat, sharing what we see day to day and trying to help you make a better decision. So let's get into it. So Paul, probably the first thing is, and you must get this a lot, like how much does a website cost constantly? Why is there that massive difference, like in a price range?
Yeah, it's the same question as like how long is a piece of string? Um, that's how I like to think. But yeah, a website means completely different things to different people. It's a single page digital business card and a full e-commerce platform you know, are websites, right? So, yeah, one is a website and the other is a website, but they are vastly different in how they work. One is like, yeah, show off a business, and this is about the business and who runs it, you know, and then the e-commerce side is built, to sell products and to create a revenue. I mean, they're both ideally set up to create revenue, but they're totally vastly different in that sense. They're both websites. They fall under that
Mm.
banner, but they are completely different entities, different entity of website. Um, so that's, so it's obviously pricing comes up, pricing reflects, what's just beyond that entity that you see on a screen, because there's so much more that goes to it, because I mean, you can get a website for 200 bucks easily, but is it going to drive more revenue to your business?
Mm.
Is it going to actually work for you? Um, Probably not.
Mm.
Most likely not, because at that price point, you're just getting a visual representation of your business, but there's no strategy, there's no thinking, there's no proper copywriting or any SEO
Mm.
support around that, built in because it's so cheap, right? Um, so unfortunately, a big part of the market is very unclear about, um, or very vague about pricing and so it makes it hard for just the everyday business owner to sort of compare anything fairly.
It's almost like buying a car, I always find. I reckon, some website businesses, it's like buying a car. Like they say it's from X price, for a Toyota or whatever, a BYD, it's from 30,000. Then you get in there and then it's like, oh, but you think it should already have it, but you gotta get floor mats, or do you want flood things, or do you want this? And oh, the windows aren't tinted. So I'm like, why are you selling me a car that doesn't have windows tinted? Those sort of things. Like it's just there's those add-ons and a piece like this. So what you think is you've been lured in by the $30,000 drive away. But then there's tax and there's this, and then there's the dealer delivery charge, or there's all this sort of stuff. Like, and the same thing I reckon happens.
Spare tire fee.
Yeah, absolutely. But and then
Only
you
you
go,
have
how
to
did that cost me
you
40,000?
now have
Like,
to pay for a spare tire, which is
yeah.
yeah,
And then they want fries with that, and then it just keeps adding on. I think
yeah.
the same, and we've seen it, and I think that's sort of how we've looked at what a website should be priced. Is no, this is what it is. You go to a website, you can walk away with it. There you go. Like that's just that one cost. Whereas some people are adding, all right, there's hosting here, there's the SSL certificates, there's all these other things.
Yes.
A fee to launch it, and then like that's never been discussed up front or included in that price. So I think that's where some people might see a $5,000 website or get quoted for that, which still can be overs. And then they walk out and it's cost them 12. I think is a
Yep.
big issue
And that can,
compared
yeah,
if they
and that
knew it up
does,
front, they'd go, oh, actually, is that beneficial for my business and stuff?
yeah, and that does happen because, there's scope creep and, it's happened with my business in what we do in the sense that
Yeah,
we will price at something, but then as we're going along in the project, the client will come in and say, oh, we actually need this thing now. And then that wasn't in the original scope.
yeah,
So we now have to say, well, yeah, now that's an extra cost. Like we can't obviously absorb everything or even
yes,
sometimes know everything up front as developers or because because getting a website is a journey. It's not
yeah,
it's you can get that $200 website with a very fixed amount of things that you're going to get with it. The website is the website. You're just going to get that. So your expectations could be that, but then I've seen it even in $200 projects. I've never done a $200 project, by the way. But I've seen that, you know, yeah, you'll start off at that point, but then as you're building, the client will come in and go like, oh, actually want this, and I want this, and I want this now, and this, and so it sort of evolves from maybe $200, and it could expand out to more
yeah,
because of that extra stuff. Same with the car analogy. They come
yeah.
in with that price point, but then it's like, oh, now we got to
They want the world for it and
want
stuff.
the extras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's
it's also making sure that when you look at a web developer or go to a business, that they have all that explained too. And it's sort of,
yeah,
yeah, this is what you get for the price. I know if we look at our site, say for a one-page website, for under $800, this is what you get. Everything's listed out exactly what you get
that's
for
right.
that price as
Yes,
well. And it's then if you want extras on it, yeah, fine. And that's what they're priced as. But you get a functioning one-page website that is basically what it says on the packet.
yep,
Same thing with the next levels and stuff. So you know where you can put your expectations within. I think sometimes people get burnt when it's from something and they're expecting it to be $1,000, but they're not told because they can't see what that actually means. And then it's really what they want is this whiz bang, you know, Bureau of Meteorology that costs 90 million type of website
yeah,
too. So
that would have been a good project to do, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, I think one of my favorite shows was Mythbusters. So I've thought of a couple of myths for you. Um, that that you hear out in market that so myth number one that cheap is fine so a website's a website. What's wrong with that thinking?
Well, what does cheap mean as well? Like, because you could be
Or
depends.
but like the cheap ones, I'd say like your DIY platforms type of thing. So where they say or even an AI platform, yep, I can build this for free or I can build it for a couple $100.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to cheap or free, there's still a cost there, right? I mean, if you're going to do it, if it's a free platform or if it's a cheap platform that you're building the site on, then you are the product. The website is just a side product. Like you are the person that has to do the work to do it. So, so it's like, Wix and Squarespace, as examples. They're cheap platforms, right? You can go and sign up for a subscription, a cheap monthly subscription, and you'll have a website. But you have to do all the work. You have to turn all the switches and the knobs and put all the content in, do all that stuff. And that's fine if that's what you want. I mean, that's cheap, right? I mean, that's because you might be there, you might not have a big budget for somebody else to do it, and that's fine too. Like that's where you are. Um, but like you, a lot of businesses who go for these platforms, they think, oh yeah, website, tick, done. We've mentioned this in our past podcasts, is that, oops, sorry, that we yeah, a business just sees a website as just another task on their to-do list. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I've got the website, tick, done. It's done. I paid $200 for it. You know, but what they don't really think about any extra is that, yeah, that website is a crucial, critical part of their business.
I think the last one you
And
said you
so,
called it their 24-hour sales staff, their
yes,
24-hour sales member.
yes. So, you know, so there's a couple of things with that. Yeah, just coming back to what does cheap mean? And is it fine for you? Like
Hmm.
it just depends on where you're at within your business. And yeah, you might want to go and do it yourself and stuff. You know, but a lot of the stuff, the back end stuff is not going to be done, like the
Hmm.
SEO, the strategy, the thinking around like, okay, yeah, my customer, like how do I build this for my customer and my ideal audience member? Rather, and all of that stuff that plays out in the back end. But business owners just think, oh no, I'll just whack it up and they'll be fine.
And also, if you did it
Okay,
yourself
so
too, and I think we mentioned last episode around, AI platforms and creating, a website through those ones as well. And sometimes businesses don't forget, or like they forget that things go wrong. Like something I love doing and in business life support and other company is that around contingency planning and continuity planning. And, what happens if your website goes down? Well, if you build it yourself, who do you call? Where's that support network for you? And it's like, the analogy, lights go off, but you're not and you can't call an electrician. So you've got to try and find the problem, but you're not skilled to do it, and it could make the problem worse. So it's that sort of, you always need to consider that it might be what you think is the cheaper option up front could cost you more in the long run
yes,
because you might be down for a day, a week, however long, um, by not having your shop front up if you're an online business, or not having, your brand out there and people thinking you're closed and not being able to call or that sort of thing as well. So that's just another consideration, I think, too. Um,
yeah, 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 very true.
would
Yes.
you say there's, is there ever a case where the cheapest option is the right call, or like a low cost option is a good call?
Yeah, I mean, we sell a cheap option on our website, for a one page website. And so that's cheap. Like it's less than $1,000. It's an entry gateway, and and if that's where you're at in your business, if you just started out, for example, in your own business, and you don't have a massive amount of cash flow, then yeah, that very simple one page website might just be the thing that you need at this point in time. Um, but it is just that this point in time. It's like, because as you grow your business and it gets better and more successful, then you're going to want to expand that website out to be more than just a single page. So,
Mm.
so yes, I think that's a genuine case for to starting out. Now, do you want to pay? I mean, we don't charge $200 for our single page.
7.95 plus GST.
Thank you. 795 plus tax.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, you can go and get $200 websites or $400 websites built from, places like Fiverr or, AI can do it now, all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But, as Ed said, like, yes, you might be paying that amount now, but you gotta consider what's the costs that are going to come to you in the future when, yeah, your cheap website goes down and you have to reach out to the developer, but they're not there, or you have to rely on AI because you built AI's built it. So now you've got to go back to AI and say, oh, my website's crashed, and now you got to spend all that time and effort, trying to figure out how to get it back with AI's help. So yeah, I mean, there's people out there that probably want to do that and create that kind of drama for their lives. It's fine, if that's you, that's that, and that's what you want.
And I
that's
think sometimes those
you
ones
get
that are like they try and get you in with these really hot deals and it's like too good to be true almost. But sometimes like and then like hosting's included or they add on hosting on that. Sometimes it might be really bad. Like I mean, the speed of the site could be really slow and all these things would just and
which you
I
have
think
no
we've
control over.
yeah, and we've talked about it in the last episode as well. I think in the one before, episode two, about making sure that, what are the things that could potentially lose you a customer? And how do you prevent losing a customer?
Yeah.
And is there so many barriers in the way for them to contact you, to find the information, to get it? So, and one of those is slow speed. If you go on a website and it's terrible. I can't access what I need. It's taking forever to load. I'll go somewhere else. Or, like it's just that simple thing that you're trying to be cost efficient and cost effective could be actually costing you more. So that's just
Mhm.
another consideration, I
And
think.
and a slow website won't get ranked either or
Yeah.
indexed. So
Um, and I think it's that thing
it's
that,
like,
what's that saying? Like a low price done properly beats a high price done badly. So it's about the value every time, and just making sure it's what you need. Um, and I think it's that people are like, oh, it's that boasting factor. Oh, I spent 10 grand on my website. Oh, isn't that beautiful? And it's like, well, it looks like you could have actually spent $500 and got exactly the same
yeah.
type of thing as well. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people who have had $20,000 websites, that are very simple brochure sites, come and say, yeah, we want a new website because the one that we paid $20,000 isn't working.
Yeah,
So it's like, or it's just, yeah, we have to go back to the developer each time and they charge a fortune and stuff to get things updated. And so, and they were happy to pay that 20,000 to begin at because they thought that the 20,000 represented value. They they thought that it's kind of like yeah, if they spent $5,000 on it, they'd probably feel like, oh, we're getting something really cheap now because we were quoted $20,000 for the same job. So
yeah,
we might be getting ripped off with the $5,000 website. There might be something that's turned off in the background on the cheaper $5,000 website. So we'll go with the 20,000 because we think that we're going to get something out of it. But invariably, it's not the case. In my experience, meeting lots of people over the time that I've been doing this, where they've spent all that money, and they all say pretty much the same thing. They just all say, yeah, we overspent on our website and we had too much expectations.
yeah,
I had one client say, oh, yeah, I paid you know 15 grand for a website and I felt like I was doing all the work.
yeah,
Anyway, like
yeah. Well,
I was doing I was just answering the developers' questions and they
yeah.
were just, you know, I mean, I think
Well, that just
there's
flows.
more to
You're
that.
sort of answering my next question for you, and it's sort of flipping, the flip side, the myth that you pay more, you automatically get a better website. Is that true? I'm like, well, no. And I think you just started answering that as well. Like, it is
But
that thing that you get those big agencies
people do equate quality
with price,
with
100%.
price tag,
Yeah,
so um but yeah, it's a perception thing. So I mean, but you find this in other markets, in other industries and stuff, where if you offer a lowball price or something which you think, is going to be really like beneficial for the business, but the
yeah.
business may see that lowball price
Is
as like,
inferior and
yeah,
yeah,
like just based on the price alone, they
yeah,
don't see the value they're getting. They're just seeing, oh, you need to add another zero to the quote and then we'll accept it because they perceive, their level of perception is like, well, we expect to be paying $100,000 for a website, not 10,000. And
And I
so
think
that's why the government paid, spent $90 million dollars
really, yeah.
on
And I
a,
think it's probably that thing that when you get the price or when you ask someone for a quote on what a website will cost, or you're looking at that, is what does that actually give you, and get that breakdown of what it provides you as well, I think is important. Um, and and then also have a consideration of what you actually need, and there's so many templates, or it's not like music where it needs to be completely unique, otherwise it's plagiarism type of thing. Like,
yeah,
there's so many templates in the web space that are already exist, and that code's already there, rather than if you know had it custom coded and that sort of thing. Might not be exactly 100% what you want, but it's probably 99.9% it looks like. So, and could be the difference of a more cost-effective site, also up and running a lot quicker as well than a custom coded site that could take ages to be built as well.
I don't think you would ever, I don't know, but do you ever get anything custom coded now?
Well, I don't know. I've
Where you
seen
get like some dude sitting at a computer just fresh, just a
it's
blank
like, oh,
canvas and
I
go,
want this
okay,
image, and I've talked to a client
HTML, here we
before,
go,
and it's
HTML.
like, no, it needs to do this. And I've been in businesses where, like, a CEO going, no, I don't like it. It just needs to shift over a little bit and drop in here. And I'm like, well, there's no template that can get you that. Like, it's just, we've got a code that has to be coded. So, I don't know, it's just something to consider, um, as well.
I mean, definitely live in a much more uh open world now, like in terms of when it comes to code and um in the digital space. It's with AI and all that sort of stuff, it is making things a lot more easier. So it's not necessarily you're not having to pay like a $20,000 developer now to do
Yeah.
something. Like you can get it done pretty quick and yeah, and faster as well. And often
Mm.
it's sometimes better than what you would with a developer. But
And I think probably a good
I might eat my words on that one day. So I'll
And I think also a
let
good
me know.
developer will sit down, and it's sort of something we pride ourselves on. That first, we want to understand what you need, or what the customer needs, and what do they want. Like, ask the questions. They might think they need all the bells and whistles,
That's right.
but that just adds complexity to their business that they don't actually have, or they don't have the capacity to deal with as well, and could actually cost them clients. So it's a really understanding what's the business problem, what's the need, what do they require, and then this is a solution for that that'll actually make their life a lot easier and also improve their business. I think that's sort of um, something to look at. So, it goes back to, if only there was a name of a podcast, more than just a website.
Ah,
Um,
I've heard of that.
yeah, exactly. But it is that thing. It is looking outside of just the platform itself, and really understanding what they need. Because sometimes, the bigger websites, or you spend a lot on it and it's got every bells and whistle under the sun, and it slows it down potentially, or whatever, but it just creates more complexity for the business owner. We don't really need it. So,
Yeah, some a recent client meeting that I had where they were like asking for a particular feature for their website where they wanted like their team section, right? Where they were like, okay, you know, we want the team to have circle images, right? And then when you hover over the team member's image, we want it to flip around and show a more casual version of that person,
mm,
right? Because we want to portray to the end user that we're a casual, team, and we're not,
yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, that can be done. But why is that important? Like, why is, you know, why do you need the flip? Like, why, from this professional portrayal to showing a casual team, why don't you just show the casual team? If that's what you want to portray, why do you need somebody to do an action to then see that? Like, what's the, it just adds to the user. And then I'm like, well, first of all, how does then the user know that they can do that?
Yeah.
And will they do that? And will they care? Like it's just, so it really just, it wasn't me squashing the client's sort of idea about what they want for their site. It was more just like bringing them back to like, well, okay, let's really look at this fundamentally and logically as like, well, is this really going to move the needle um, on the design of the page? Or is
Yeah.
it, just having that one little feature? Yes, it can be done, but, should it be done?
Yeah.
That's the question here.
Yeah,
Should we
absolutely.
be doing it? And should we
Yeah.
be spending time building it when really at the end of the day, the people just want the information? Like, are
Yeah.
they, because it goes back to, how what we spoke in our last podcast is that, people's buying behavior is changing and
Yeah.
people's information gathering is changed, because people want things now. They need to,
Hmm.
they don't have time to sit there and click on your image and see it flip over and go, whoa, yeah, look at that. Maybe that was like 1998 or something,
Yeah.
or early 2000s where people had the time to do that,
Yeah.
or the care to do that. But now it's like, no, people don't really care for that stuff. They just want the information. They just want to see what's what. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and I reminded the client, you can have all this animation and all this beautiful stuff, everything flop, like, you just go down the page, everything flops into place and slides in, have all that. And it looks great. On some sites,
Hmm.
it looks really amazing. But at what cost? What is the true cost there? You got now extra JavaScript that needs to load
Yeah.
on the page when the page loads. So then that's going to, make the page load a little bit slower, which could lead to somebody not visiting your page because they're
Yeah.
just like, this is loading it's not loading in 1.5 seconds. It might load in 2 seconds, which is still pretty fast.
Yeah.
Um, but because it's not loading in 1.5, people are out of there.
Yeah.
Even though you've got all this
Whereas,
really amazing stuff going on, like, wow, these words like flipping in and
yeah.
it looks really cool visually, and the business owner loves it because they're like, yeah, it looks really awesome.
Yeah.
But it's the
But it's
business
probably
owner that loves it.
cost you your sales target for the month.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right. Or
for
maybe
those,
one or
for
two
those that
people
have just tuned in or like this their first time, listening to the podcast, um, in episode one, so we talked about, Paul, like I used to be a client of Paul's many, many years ago, and he told me in no certain terms that my website shouldn't have a slider on it, because A, it wasn't best practice, and so he'll always think of what is the best thing for the business. I thought they looked really cool, and oh, it just that will be awesome, and that's going to get me more sales and all this sort of stuff. And I have never had a slider since, because of the wise words Paul instilled in my mind. But that's that thing. So you put it to me about, is that actually, am I going to, I'll lose clients potentially, and because of what it's actually doing to the site, and is it necessary and that sort of stuff. So you could have easily been a yes man and ticked it off and washed your hands and whooshka away you go, um, and taken the cash. But
You would have
that,
eventually come back and said, why is my site loading slowly?
yeah,
Why is it
and
not? Why isn't it not meeting Google's page speed score?
yeah,
Core Web Vitals. And then I would have had to have said at that point, yeah, it's a slider.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would have come around eventually
Yeah.
anyway. And then you would have gone like,
It's the slider that I love so much
let's get
that,
rid of the slider.
it's
Like,
just,
I'd
even
rather
when I'm ordering a hamburger and I see sliders on the menu, I can't order it. It just brings me back the worst thing ever. I've got this conniption of a slider.
your brain
Um,
has to load that extra JavaScript to think about
Slider
sliders.
bad,
No,
slider
I'm not
bad.
having slide. No,
Uh,
not even hamburger sliders.
and I think and that's a credit to yourself and how we sort of set up Ready Site too. It's not transactional. It's about that relationship, and it's about we we want the best for a business, not just okay, click purchase, there you go, and turning people over and stuff. So I think that's quite important. Um, so why don't we get practical? We're talking about pricing and what a website costs and stuff. When someone pays for a website, what are they paying for? Like, what are the key things they should make sure are included, or just, what is it? Why does a website cost money? I know it's a pretty basic question and simple one, but probably a bit more explanation for those listening.
Okay, so when you get a website, um, and what you're paying for, things like, the build itself, the design, the page layout, the structure, all the branding, all the design, like all the stuff that you see on the screen, the content placement. Do we put it in a column and do we, what do we do here? How does it structurally lay out? How do we structure it on a mobile? All that stuff. And then of course there's the copywriting. So somebody has to write that, whether it's you, the business owner that provides the developer, us, that content, or we write it for you. Yeah, somebody has to do that. Somebody actually has to get that content, and the content has to be written in a way that converts. It's not just like you know feature and features, a bunch of features, but they have to also include benefits. Rather than a feature, a benefit. So it's a strategic way of laying out the content to answer the audiences, or the target audience, the target customer, their primary answers, or their questions that they might have. Um, and then there's so we've got the bill, we've got the copyright itself, and then there's the SEO stuff. So there's the setting up the meta titles and the meta descriptions, and adding alt tags to images, and naming things, and that also ties in with the structure as well, because you want to have um, you might have, say, FAQs on a page, like a FAQ accordion or a section. So you want to make sure that that section is has got schema markup for FAQ schema markup. Um, so that's technical stuff, and then you want to make sure that if it's a service page, it has service page schema. And schema is just a bit of code that sits in the back of the page in the source code that tells search engines in a very quick way what that page is and what it represents and what's on that page, and what it how it who it belongs to, whether it's an organization, a business, and so so there's that technical stuff. So we've got the build itself, we've got the content, and now we've got the technical stuff behind the scenes. And then of course, you've got your other ongoing costs, which is after, like, when the site is up and running, which is the hosting and support, maybe maintenance. The website is isn't just a one-off purchase.
Yeah.
The website is, I mean, it is initially to get all the build and the copyright and the SEO stuff done right at the beginning. Um, and that can be a fixed cost, but then there's ongoing costs like the hosting, domain name. You need to keep renewing your
Yeah.
domain name. That's another cost. So just think like a bricks and mortar build.
Yeah, I was going to say, think of like a shop front. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, just and in that said, you need to vacuum the floor. You need to, you know, turn the lights, change the light bulbs, those sort of things. Like,
yeah,
you know, grease the door if it's squeaky, like you wouldn't just leave
Clean
it
the
and set and
windows.
forget and stuff and sweep the leaves up and pay your rent and pay your insurance and
Yeah,
those
so
sort of
you have the
things.
rent, you have the lease, you have electricity,
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
all
100%.
these other
So
costs that go.
whereas I think some people
Staff, you
just,
probably have staff. You probably, yeah.
yeah,
So you kind of have that expectation when you're in a shop, when you create a shop front, when you build a business on a shop front, you know
yeah,
going in that it's not just the stuff that you're going to be selling. You're going to be paying all these other expenses ongoingly.
hmm,
And so you got to kind of have that mindset coming into a website too, because
yeah,
it's,
100%.
I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
I never
Um,
set and forget. And I think we brought it up last episode, talking about um, SEO and content, and also with the AI platforms like your ChatGPT and Claude and stuff, picking up and scanning your data
yeah,
to pull through those sites in that sort of search capacity. That content always needs to be updated and making sure it's fresh, because that's another signal that and can help you in that in that space. um I was looking at a couple of websites clients today, and they had blog posts from 2021
yeah,
they still had tiles to do with COVID and their COVID response. It's sort of that signifies, well, are you actually up to date, from just a natural customer going to it, but also from that technical aspect and the bots crawling your site so you can be ranked. That's also a concern, a consideration too.
yeah, absolutely,
And I
definitely.
think something to be mindful as well is if someone offers a website and there's no ongoing cost, that's sort of a bit of a red flag,
Mm.
um, because either it's not including hosting, um, or there's no support if something breaks. Like that's the key thing. What happens if something goes wrong? Like, yeah, that's what you really need to pay for someone to be there for you.
Yeah. And most likely, if you're getting a $200 website, you're probably going to find that, yeah, you're going to have to get somebody to help you
Yeah,
with that site. Something's going to break eventually. I mean, and is the person who you're paying $200 to, are they still going to be around? Um,
yeah,
because, even today, I don't even know how anybody could justify charging $200 for a website. I guess if you're in a country where where it's cost of living is a lot cheaper, but yeah, but you kind of
you
often
see them on
wonder how
Fiverr a lot,
how
and it's
often
sort of
how long are they going to stay in business for? Like
but
if
like you see it on Fiverr going, oh yeah, I'll charge 200 bucks to build this for you type of thing. And it's also,
and they'll do it, but yeah, you get what you pay for.
yeah, 100%.
That's the good old saying is yeah. Um,
So if we do a shameless plug about our pricing model, and how Ready Site, you know, structures our pricing, um, I think the key thing would be we just want it to be simple and made it 3 tiers, no hidden surprises, so you know exactly what you're getting. When you look at the site, you see what's included and what's not included. So,
yeah,
because there's not every business needs all the bells and whistles, but if you want those, we can add those in. Like we don't include, some copywriting or um, specific, copywriting, because some business already has that in house. But
yeah,
if you need that, we can provide it for you.
yes,
Um, and then, depending on the level of support you want and hosting and those sort of things, it's listed there, like what's actually included. There's some people that aren't in a urgent time frame, so yep, they can come back for the end of the day, or some people need like support straight away type of thing. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Do you want to talk about some of the packages that we have?
Yeah, why not? So we've got a one-page website. That's we've already mentioned that. That's $795 plus GST, and that is perfect for cafes, trades, or anybody who's just wanting to get set up with a really professional digital business card. Um, and it will be set up right from the beginning. So it's a good foundation to sort of leapfrog from that to build out a stronger website. With more pages. It starts off as one page, but you can then add more later. So
And it's key for like tradies because most people will see, say, the tradie van, they'll see the name on the side of the road, they'll see the phone number, but some people are reluctant to call the tradie on the phone because they're already on site, so they're not going to take the call. Like, and it'll just go to voicemail, and will they get it? So it's sort of advisable for some tradies. Just put up a one-page site, have your website on there. People can just leave a message or have a form, and there you go. You've got an inquiry straight away, and you can either email them back or you could call them straight. So you're not missing those calls that you might not have reception, they don't leave a message, that sort of thing. So at least you've got the customer's information that you can call back and know what their issue is as well.
yeah, and I guess we should pretty much set people's expectations on this package as because it's a one-page website. It's certainly not going to do much for you in regards to search engine optimization and
Yeah,
because it's only one website. So
yeah,
and that we've priced it in a way that it's just an entry level pricing. And of course we're going to if you're looking for something a little bit more that you want to get something out of the website and make it do a little bit more work, become that salesperson. Um, then we have other plans as well. So we've got the starter website that starts at 14.95 plus GST, and that takes you from the single page to now you got 5 pages. And this is really ideal for small businesses that are ready to really up the game in search engines and really get some traction in that space. That the single one page website just won't. We just need to be transparent that the one page is probably not going to be a performant website like
no.
performant getting you. It's going to be as Ed said, like you're a tradie,
But it's a virtual
and
business card, basically.
then somebody,
Like, you
it's
know,
just that, but it's a very good business card.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Structurally well done, and it's not, we'll still have proper strategy and thinking around it. But and it will answer all the key questions and all that stuff. But it's a good starting point. But anyway, so then our third template, or sorry, business package is the business website package, which is 2,995 plus GST, and that gives you 10 pages, which is going to give you a lot more power. Like it's going to be a more powerful website in terms of conversion tracking. Probably have service pages that are individual service pages that act like their own landing pages.
Yeah.
We'll have a blog in that, and we'll have other sort of behind the scenes stuff like the schema markup. All that stuff is going to be included in that, so that it gives your business a more oomph. And you could start with that one pager and then just sort of move yourself up the ladder to to,
Yeah.
to the business website, and then
And also the business website, we include some training as well. And I think that's the
yep,
bit we want to show you how to use the site, how to update we've mentioned in previous podcasts as well, is you don't want to have, and it's sort of a red flag on some ones where the developer has to make every change to the site, like even just simple text changes. You need to have that ability to change, like to edit your site. So I think that's sort of important thing that will give you that training as well. Um, yeah, in the business website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to give you that full support um, for you.
Yeah. Um, so I think, if we look at it, and I think the thing um, with the websites as well, we put our money where our mouth is. Um, we have a thing on the website, and you'll see it in our thing about we have 110% guarantee that you know if don't like your website, 100% money back guarantee. Um, and but I think that's sort of we want to remove that risk from the owner side. Like we know no one's claimed it so far, and no one will ever claim it, we don't think, because we want your site to be exactly what you want, um, and to make sure it's works for you and will, you know, understand what you need from a site and give you what you require as well.
Yeah, give you and your customers what it requires. Yeah. So we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. That makes sense.
Yeah. And we're not gambling on an unknown outcome, like some of those ones they pay up front, you've got no idea. It's like, well, has that money just got into the ether and stuff? Um,
Yeah.
so then, like we sort of probably the last thing probably want to mention or talk about is, Paul, in all your years building websites, what's the biggest pricing mistake you've seen a business owner make?
Uh, well, yeah. I mean, they choose based on the lowest quote. You know, they get it's good to get several quotes as well. We definitely we understand that, right? So, but yeah, choosing it based on the dollar value that is less than all the other quotes is you know I've just through my experience I've just found that yeah, people who have gone to to the lowest quote are not happy, and people who go for like the really, as I mentioned before, the really high quotes are also not happy.
Hmm.
And it's usually because there's a misunderstanding, there's some sort of communication breakdown between the person selling the website or the people selling the website and the business owner. Because yeah, it's not really based on the price, it's based on the value and what you're getting
Yeah,
out of it. And understanding that and having people like what we do and why we set up ReadySite is that we can give you that understanding um, at the onset, so you're not having to then have that conversation with another developer
yeah,
down the track of like, oh, I spent way too less on this and I got rubbish, or I spent way too much on this and I got rubbish. We want to avoid that
yeah,
at the beginning, at that beginning, so you know exactly what you're getting. And again, we're not the cheapest, but we're also not the most expensive, as you can see from our pricing, what we've talked about our pricing. So, um, but we want to make sure that yes, what you're getting is good quality and the
yeah,
value is there. And that really just comes back to, um, having a good understanding with each other. So,
yeah.
but yeah, like, some people go with custom build templates as well,
Hmm.
uh, where yeah, they literally get a developer to sit down and write the code and everything, and and that's blown out the costs and stuff like that when they could have gotten it for a fraction of a cost with a like a template based
Yeah,
site, something that can be done quite easily. And then, of course, not expecting or not going in thinking that there were no other costs involved. Like at the end, the developers like saying, so at the end of the development, the developer's saying like, oh, by the way, you have to keep paying for this,
yeah,
whereas that wasn't communicated up front. So then the business owners are like, what? no, you didn't tell me that up front. I just thought this was how much I was going to pay, and now I'm what? Now I have to pay more? Like, and that could be like for hosting and support. Like some people think, oh, hosting and support is included, but in most cases it's not. You got to know about this stuff up front. So we're very clear with you on what is up front. So
I think that comes through, and I think, yeah, I've had one recently. Someone asked, "Oh, well, I can get it cheaper. Why would I pay more? Fiverr, I've got my bloke that can do it for, you know, half the price that you're charging and
got a
stuff." And
friend,
I always go,
got a
what's
mate.
actually included? And um, could be just a templated build. There's that no strategy, ongoing support. They just do what it is, create it. It looks pretty, but are all the back end and is everything connected and is it actually effective? And it's that, you know, $200 versus 14.95. The $200 could be doing nothing for your business, but 14.95 is actually bringing in customers and gives you a return on investment for, 10 times, whereas the
Yeah,
other one's not making any money at all. So I think that's always what you just got to be careful of, and we'll have those honest conversations. And for us, it's yeah, if that doesn't fit for you, then that's fine. That's we'll tell it is. We want to work the best for your business and want do the best for you. But if our pricing doesn't fit in what you're after, then yeah, that's not a problem by us either.
yeah. Oh, and if you've got a $200, you've paid $200 for a website and it's not doing anything, then have a chat. We'll
Yeah,
have a chat with you and see how we can change that website. And we may not have to redo the site as well. So we could just take what you've got existingly and
yeah,
what's already existing, and then we can just make it better. So yeah.
yeah. So my last question for you is, if someone's listening today, and trying to figure out what tier, like, the resite tiers that we have is right for them, um, how would you decide? Like, what's the simplest way to decide?
Yeah, so just think about what it is that you need the site to actually do for you. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to just say, okay, I want my website to generate sales, you know, rather than just sort of go like, because that essentially is what you're doing in the whole aspect of it is that you're getting something to improve something. That's why every facet of our life, we upgrade our car or our house or something to something better because that's what we want to,
Hmm.
to get out of life. So it's the same with a website. We don't just want the website as the website. I mean, intrinsically, that's what we think we want, but what we want is more sales and we want a better business. And so that's what you need to decide. That's what you need to think about. Like, why am I getting a website? So I can grow my business and it
Yeah,
can help me grow my business. Um, and then, if you want to, so also think about, if you want to explain your services more effectively and more properly, then, the one page is not going to do that for you. So,
yeah.
you got to really look at either
That starter tier would be best, yeah.
the starter or the business,
Yeah,
and of course, if you want, more bang for your buck and you want your site to be a little bit more robust, then yeah, the business website tier pricing will be what that pricing is.
I
Um,
think also, and we've got those three tiers, but if it is something that has to go above and beyond as well, we can
yes,
price up a
custom
custom slot,
custom
and
build.
do a quote around that as well.
Yeah,
But
there'll be a
that sort of
different
just gives people
there'll be a differently scoped project which will have its own unique features and yeah. So we also
yeah,
cater for those, yeah. But
yeah. And that's the thing. Give us a call and book in a discovery call. You can do
yeah,
the health check on the website, health check as well on the website, and we can have those conversations with you and really understand what you need. And I'll jump on the phone and talk you through the process as well. So I think that works. Well, I think that's a wrap, I reckon, Paul, on episode 4. Thank you. Hopefully today's cleared up some of the confusion around pricing and website pricing. It's It's not about finding the cheapest option or most expensive. It's really about finding what that right fit for your business and what it actually needs. So if you want to know exactly what that looks like for you, yeah, I've mentioned it before. Just jump on, book a free discovery call with us, be with myself. We'll talk through your business, recommend the right tier, really understand what you need, and try and help you find that solution. And then you'll know what the upfront cost is with no surprises or pressure. And then, yeah, Restart comes with our 100%, 110% money back guarantee. We're putting our money where our mouth is that, so there's no risk of finding out or trying a website. So jump on to readysite.com.au. And if this episode's helped clear things up, share it with someone that's been putting off their website because they're not sure what it should cost. Yeah, flick this to them or make sure you like the video if you're watching it on YouTube or and like the podcast on Spotify. So we'll see you at the next episode. Take care, Paul.
Thank you, Ed. You too.
And yeah, and anyone listening today, we'll hopefully see you and speak to you on a discovery call soon. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.